عليه الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So what we're looking at now is Surah Al Humazaa. Now you can see both these surahs. Takathur is before Asr, and we talked about time, and Humazaa is after Asr. So now Humazaa is actually telling me about the one who is in the worst kind of loss, who has used his or her time in the worst kind of way. Remember, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. This is talking about the worst sort of person. The best kind is Kawthar, worst kind is in this one, in Humazaa. So Surah Al Humazaa, the focus of the surah, is literally telling me about the profile of someone whose whole life revolves around wealth, who worships wealth. And it talks about the consequences as well on the day of Qiyamah. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Humazaa and Lumazaa means. So what I have done, and maybe I can show you in my book, maybe you can do the same thing. I'm just going to move the Quran away for a minute. Excuse me. So I'd suggest that you make 2 columns, okay? Just like I have here. I'm going to try and focus this on here. So if you look at my booklet, I've got 2 columns. I've got Humaz and Lumaz. So I suggest you take a post-it note to put in your Quran, and you put Humaz and Lumaz, because we're going to talk about it. And here I've just put some explanation of what Humazaa means. Okay. So in essence, Humazaa means someone who wants to destroy another person's character. So, and it's normally through words or deeds, and it's always for personal gain. It's always to be able to step on someone, to be able to look better. You know, it's something that is in a human being's nature. Benefits of recitation, by the way: eye ailments get better, you get protection from evil eye, safety from poverty, and an easy death. So let's look at this now, okay? And we'll look at those differences as we go along, and you'll be able to do the 2 columns. Let's start in the beginning. So the first thing it says is wail. Wail is destruction. Wail is a curse. Wail is the lowest part of Jahannam, okay? So Allah is saying destruction. You'll find it about 10 times in Surah Al Mursalat. The whole Quran is at about 27 times. I think 2 surahs of the Quran begin with it. When you did Mutaffifin, Wailul lil Mutaffifin, Wailul li kulli humazatil lumazah. Okay, so 2 surahs start basically saying total destruction. He's so angry, so angry. He wants to obliterate these human beings. That's not what a creator does. When a creator creates something, he doesn't want to do that. But he says, my goodness, who are these people? And he doesn't say believers or unbelievers, nothing. Likulli, every. Humazatil lumazah. Humaz is someone who destroys you behind your back. It's very subtle. That's why you call them backbiters. Okay. Humaz is subtle. Humaz can do it with gestures without you even knowing at all. And Humaz is always directed at you. That means they will attack the personality themselves. And there's no purpose in life. They're just over concerned with others. It becomes a personality trait. You see, it's habitual. It's not just a one-off thing. Lumaz is sarcasm. Lumaz can be explicit. It could be at your face. It's the way someone looks at you. It's the way someone gestures at you. They may do it in your face. And lumaz can be indirect. They may be directing it at your family. They may be directing it at your community. It could be indirect. Humaz and lumaz are very, very interchangeable. You could say humaz is backbiting and lumaz is slandering. But you know what? Literally, take it as I'm telling you. One is, humaz is sort of a bit subtle. Lumaz is in your face. Humaz is more gestures, is directed at you. Lumaz is directed maybe at your community, at your family, people around you. And lumaz can be in your face. Gausun Humaz is a bow. It's a bow, a bow and an arrow. But Gausun Humaz means a very strong bow, a bow that the string is so tight that the arrow actually hits its target. So Humaz also means, Humaz and Lumaz means those people who are dead set on hurting you. They know, they're obsessed with putting you down. They want to hurt you, and it's the point of impact. Their words cut you apart. So Allah is saying, Wailul likulli humazatil lumaza. When you read this, it kind of makes your hair stand on end. You just don't want to talk. You just want to stop talking. And like I said, wail is something despicable. So Allah is saying He didn't talk about those who don't pray, He doesn't talk about those who don't fast, doesn't talk about those who give charity, nothing. He says the worst thing that you can do to another human being is hurt their heart, directly or indirectly. And He says you are just destroyed. Now He tells you why you do it. Why do human beings do that? He says, Alladhi jama'a malan wa addada. It is because they collect wealth. Wa'addada, and they continually count it. Now you can imagine the rich list. So they're on the rich list. They look down on those below them and they pick faults with those above them. They just cannot, their whole life, their whole goal in life is gathering wealth. They think that's, and we'll come to they think in a minute. Addada, they're constantly worrying about the future, but the constant worry is monitoring. It's monitoring means. They're only worried about money. And when they talk about people, it's either somebody who doesn't live in the same area as them, which isn't nice, or they live in a better area, which really has more burglaries in them. So they will always pick on people. God forbid you tell them, come and live in an area which is not, sorry. In England, we have people who live in council houses because they have to, and people who live in rented homes, and people who live in bought homes. And oh my goodness, we have this, I don't know, we have a snobbery that if somebody lived in a council house, somehow they are a bit below us. And this is what we're talking about. Alladhi jama'a malan wa addada. If somebody doesn't dress like us, if somebody doesn't have the same sort of homes as us, if somebody, this is the whole, it's just not talking about those way up there. It's talking about all of us. Do I look down at somebody who drives a car that is not the sort of car I drive? Do I look down if I have to go visit someone and say, oh my goodness, is this where they live? Is that what I say? And that's why He says, Alladhi jama'a malan wa addada. They only measure up people according to the status they have externally, according to their wealth. Yahsabu, and why do they also do it? Yahsabu anna malahu akhlada. They assume, Yahsabu, anna, that malahu, that their wealth, the status they've got with their wealth will make them immortal, and they actually impose it on other people. They will make sure that their name is on top of every mosque building. Sorry, you can put names on. I'm not disputing what you want to do, but they want to make sure you're there. This wonderful story about Bahlul. He went up to this man who was building a mosque, and he said, why are you doing this? And he said, well, I want Allah to be remembered. I want people, a mosque for people. I want people to come here. And on the top of the mosque was written Masjid, whatever his name was. Let's say his name was Ahmed, Masjid Ahmed. At night, Bahlul went, took the plaque out, and he put Masjid Bilal. Masjid Bahlul, rather. So the man the next morning came in and said, hello, what did you do? He said, well, you said you did it for Allah. You did it for people. What difference does it make whose name is up there? Right? So here, يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ. People don't care. Do you remember the person who put up his name on God knows where, wherever, whatever? No, you don't. You just don't. But they think that their wealth. Do you remember the person who was the richest person last year on the rich list? Or 2 years ago or 3 years ago? No, you don't. So Allah is saying, I'm telling you, they are thinking that their money will make them immortal. And the only reason they give donations, if they do give donations, is to be able to have their name, to be able to be in control. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ. Now look what he says. First of all, there were 5 crimes, okay? 5 things. 1, Humazaa. 2, Lumazaa. 3, Jama' Amal. 4, Addada. And 5, Yahsabu Akhlada. I'll go back to it. 1, Humazaa. So Humazaa, destroying somebody's integrity behind the back. Lumazaa, destroying somebody's integrity in front of them. Jama' Amalan, they continue, they just collect and collect and collect wealth. They don't share. Addada, they're always looking at their bank accounts. God forbid they were given 0.5% interest less. And that's another story altogether. Yahsabu Akhlada. They think that is what will keep them immortal. These are 5 crimes. Now let's look at the punishments. Kalla, no, he says. That's not going to keep you alive. Layumbadhanna fil khutama. Nabadha, I don't know how to even say this. Nabadha is not even, you're not even placed. You're flung out. You're thrown out. You know, it reminds me of when my grandchildren come. I mean, their nappies, their diapers stink. You know, just go put them outside in the outside bin, not even in the inside bin, okay? That's nabadha. Don't want it near you. Just want to get rid of it, okay? So, kalla layumbadhanna, they will be thrown in khutama. My goodness, what is khutama? So the general Arab who was listening to this at that time would think Khutam is to break. Khutama is that vegetation that is dries and that crumbles. You know, we're really good in autumn. You can see it when you crunch on the leaves. You know how you step on it and it's the green leaves don't crunch. They remain green even if you step on them. Maybe your mark goes on them. But a dried leaf just crumbles. That's khutama. So Allah is saying, La yumbadhanna fil khutama. They will be thrown out with the leaves, the crushed vegetation, the dried, crumbled there. And then because he thought they may not understand, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْحُطَمَةُ. What will make you understand what this crushing under your feet is? This no value. Nabadha is to throw something with no value. Hutama, vegetation that is dried. Now he explains it. This hutama, he said, is narullahil muqada. When I read this, I think of my neighbors who sometimes gather up all the leaves in autumn and they start a fire in their garden. They're burning it up. So he's saying, narullahi, it cannot be compared to other fires. It is a fire of Allah. Muqada illustrates sparks of a flame. Muqada also implies that it always remains alight. It is the fire. He is so angry at these people because they have hurt people's hearts that he just wants to get rid of them, just wants to throw them away. But he says, you hurt somebody's heart? I'll tell you what it made it feel like. For them, it felt like there was a fire that just wouldn't be put out. Muqada, it just kept on lighting again and again and again. Allati, it rose, tattali'u ala al-af'ida. Tattali'u, it's a climbing a mountain over and over again. Af'ida is fu'ad. So literally it's a heart engulfed in flames. And Allah is saying it doesn't consume. It's not the end. It's not like, that's it, khalas. It just goes on and on and on. And he says, this is what you did to them when you hurt their hearts. Allati tattali'u ala al-af'ida. So what did you do? You hurt their hearts. So now these flames will hurt your hearts. Because this is what you did. Fi amadim. Okay, sorry. I missed a thing. Innaha alayhim mu'asada. It will be tightened over them. How can I explain mu'asada? Mu'asada is a lidded pot. Nothing will come out of it. And every time something tries to come out, you push it back on. It's a closed door. It's like a barn where animals are secured. But you know what? In our times, I'd like to describe it as maybe you know, I don't know whether you do this, but in the summer, I put away, or in the winter, or let's say summer, I put away my winter clothes and I put them in a bag, and then I put the hose of my vacuum cleaner in it, and it takes out all the air. You know, it sort of completely crushes it. It takes all the air out and it squeezes it out completely. That's mu'sada. Mu'sada is, it's airtight. There's no room to move. Allah says, Innaha alayhim mu'sada. This is what you did to somebody else. When you hurt their hearts, you made it airtight. You closed their hearts. So that's what's going to happen to you. And then not only that, he goes on. Fi amadim mumaddada. Now you all know mud is to stretch. Amad is a pillar. You know, pillars support things. And they stay there. They're the last things to go when you destroy a building. The pillars remain. If you go to the ruins, if you go to see ruins in different countries, you will find that the roof has blown out, everything's gone, but the pillars are still there. Greece has some wonderful example of the temples where the pillars are there. So he's saying these columns will be, mud is to stretch. They will be endlessly stretched as far as possible, extremely high, extremely hot. And, you know, it's just trying to, how can I put this? He's telling you of this description of this prison that one has created through Humazaa and Lumazaa. So let's go back to the 5 crimes: Humazaa, Lumazaa, Jama Amal, Addada, and Yahsabu. The 5 punishments are Hutama, to be crushed, because you crushed everybody else. Narullahil muqada, you lit a fire in their hearts, so that's going to be lit in you as well. Tataliu alal afida, and I said Tatali was, it's a mountain, it'll climb over your hearts like you took over their hearts. Amadim, mu'sada, which is that airtight stuff, and finally Amadim mumaddada, it'll be outstretched columns, because that's what you did. So 5 crimes, 5 punishment. It's really harsh. You really want to just shut up when you hear this. You don't want to say anything at all. And something you find in Humazaa is a little bit of poetry, if I want to say. So if you look at Humazaa and Lumazaa, you become Hutama. If you do Humazaa and you do Lumazaa, you become Hutama. If you do Addada, you have Mumaddada. Can you see it? You can actually look at it, and you can look at the rhyming words that you have. So I'm going to reiterate a little bit about Surah Al Humazaa rather, so we can go into it, or we can understand it a bit better. We've divided it into 2 sections. The focus is literally about somebody whose whole life revolves around wealth, who looks at people totally, so he or she looks at people totally based on how much they have. So the first thing they'll ask is how much they have. We had a Cupid meeting yesterday. I'm not sure that I'm supposed to say this, but often we find that we're looking at the wrong concept of who we want to get married to. So if somebody's profession is not a profession that seems to, in that person's eyes, that which earns them a lot of money, they won't even consider looking at that person. And that's really sad. And this is exactly what this is talking about. So, whale, it starts with Jahannam, it ends with Jahannam. And Allah is saying, anybody who hurts hearts through Humas and Lumas are literally on their path to destruction. They only do that because they see human beings, they rank human beings according to how much they have. And they think that it is the wealth or what people have which will make them immortal. And he says that's not going to happen. They're going to be crushed. And it explains what that crushing is. He says it's a fire that he lights, no fire like it, which will always light, which will never go off. Because they hurt hearts, it talks about hearts here, afida, inna alayhim mu'sada, it'll be airtight, they won't be able to squeeze out of it, and fi amadim mumaddada, it will be forever, it will remain forever, and it will be endlessly outstretched columns. So that in essence completes Surah Al Humazaa. Inshallah, next week we will look at the last 2 surahs in exiled corners.